The troll awoke from his restless sleep. He glanced out of the mouth of the cave and caught sight of the rising sun. The sun cast bright golden rays through the treetops in front of the cavern. He gazed down at his smaller brother, who was snoring noisily. The sleeping troll stirred and rolled over into the small stream of water, drenching his leather tunic. The larger troll watched with amusement for a time, then becoming annoyed, he stood up and grabbed his club. His sibling dropped instantly.
Gorok, why you do that?
The dazed creature asked as he rubbed his aching noggin. His green flesh was masked by the shadows of the cave, making the huge nose that sat in the middle of his face look even larger than it actually was. It drooped almost low enough to touch his crooked yellow teeth. His fat build was bent as he squatted on the floor. Gorok threw his club aside. He towered over his brother, straightening his hunched back until he reached his full 8 feet of height. His favorite feature of his own stubborn face was the 2 short horns that rose from his green forehead, likening him to a demon. His large crumpled ears hung loosely on the sides of his head, one pierced by a stylish earring.
You got wet, Flugo. I helped you.
The giant troll replied. Just then, a fairy flies into the cave.
Trolls hated water. They hated to get wet because they were afraid that they would lose their troll-like stench that had been acquired over several years of not bathing. They did this to repel others of their species, for they despised their own kind. Trolls were strictly loners.
Gorok and Flugo were an exception to this. The 2 trolls were left alone in the world when their mother was killed while they were very young. Even now, they would surely have died without each other.
I think it stopped, Flugo.
Gorok lumbered over to the mouth of the cave, viewing the numerous pools of brown water on the moist forest floor, the only remnants of the rainstorm the previous night. He lowered his eyes to view the spectacle on his thick finger. A ring with a small portrait of his mother embedded in the surface peered up at him. The visage was less than comforting. Her green, bloated face, crooked teeth, and yellow eyes gazed hellishly off into space.
Mama.
Gorok kissed his jeweled finger, then turned to face Flugo.
We need home. We need wife to take care of us. What for? We do fine. Well,
Gorok thought for a minute, searching for an answer in his walnut-sized brain.
Me sickle forest. Me need live in town. Me want roast boar and ale. Me sickle eating frogs. Plus, there been no dwarves in forest for weeks. That me favorite food.
The giant troll paused to glance at his brother's hideous face.
Oh, and me sickle you.
Perfectly used to such insults from his big brother, Flugo ignored the last comment.
Live in town? Them? People wouldn't like that. People didn't like trolls.
Still, the thought of just one good meal made Flugo smile. As he did so, long strings of drool streamed down his gnarled teeth. The sun shone straight overhead, marking noon. Heat stirred throughout the quiet forest. The 2 trolls, each carrying a misshapen knapsack, trod through the dense brush, leaving a path of crushed plants behind them. Flugo searched the treetops for any signs of food as his mouth watered and his stomach growled. Gorok led the procession, lumbering in front of his smaller brother, swiping at the bushes ahead with his club. Flugo tugged at his brass nose ring impatiently.
We there yet, Gorok? No, shut up! Me not there. Search for food. Be quiet. Be thinking.
The ground became increasingly wet as the 2 neared the river's edge.
He don't like water.
Flugo lumbered over to a cluster of cattails, staying well away from the deadly water. He reached down into the plants and began groping about.
Got one.
He brought up his hand, which held a fat bullfrog. He threw it to Gorok, having learned the painful lesson earlier in life that his brother always ate first. Gorok caught the squirming creature and immediately shoved it into his yellow-toothed mouth. He chewed, squirting green slime in all directions. Flugo found another and greedily devoured the terrified animal.